There's an old temptation in American life, as old as the Republic itself, to look out at the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans and see them not as bridges but as moats. We look at the storm clouds gathering over Europe or Asia and say to ourselves, that's their business. We've got our own crops to tend, our own towns to build, and our own troubles to solve. It's an understandable impulse. It comes from a good, peace-loving heart. But history, that tough, unforgiving teacher, has shown us time and again that distance is not the same thing as safety. In 1914, when the world caught fire, we told ourselves we could sit it out. For 3 long years, we watched it from afar. But the fire didn't stay on the other side of the water. It reached across the Atlantic, targeting our ships, threatening our security, and forcing us to send our fine young men into the muddy trenches of France. When that war ended, we packed up and came home and turned down the lamp. We declined to join the League of Nations. We said, let Europe manage Europe. We wished for peace, but wishing was not a strategy. Within a single generation, an evil, darker than any the world had ever seen, rolled across the European continent. Nazi boots stomped through Paris, London burned under the Blitz, and soon enough, the darkness reached our doorsteps at Pearl Harbor. Once again, we were drawn into a global fight for human freedom, at a staggering, heartbreaking cost in American blood and pressure. By 1945, an extraordinary generation of American leaders looked at the ruins of Europe and said, never again. They realized we couldn't keep playing the same tragic game, waiting for Europe to collapse, raising a massive army from scratch and crossing an ocean in tears, defeating an aggressor, and then rushing back home, praying the settlement would somehow hold.
There is convincing evidence that the peoples of Western Europe want to preserve their free society and the heritage we share with them.
In the atomic age, you don't get a second chance to repair the world after it shatters. So America did something bold, something revolutionary. We didn't just rebuild Europe's economies with the Marshall Plan. In 1949, we joined hands with Canadians and 10 other European nations to form NATO. For the first time in our history, we declared in peacetime that an attack on free Western Europe was an attack on the United States. We didn't do this to invite war. We did it to prevent it. Aggressors thrive on uncertainty. They look for weakness. They calculate that they can pick off one small neighbor today, another tomorrow, and that the great republic across the ocean will be too slow, too divided, or too distracted to stop them. NATO removed all doubt. It drew a line in the sand and told the Soviet Union, if you cross this line, you face the full unified power of the free world. And you know what happened? The Soviets never crossed that line. For 40 years, NATO didn't fire a single shot in anger against the Warsaw Pact, and yet it won the greatest conflict of the 20th century without throwing the world into nuclear night. This is the true meaning of peace through strength. Now I hear my friends who say, rich, that was then. Today Europe is rich, lazy, and taking advantage of American generosity. And let's be brutally honest, they have a point. For far too long, too many European capitals treated the American umbrella as a permanent welfare program. They cut their defense budgets, shuttered their shipyards, and let their armies shrink, and spent the savings on massive social programs, all while counting on hardworking taxpayers in Texas, Ohio, and Florida to foot the bill for their securities. This is unacceptable. An alliance is a partnership, not a protectorate. European nations must pay their fair share, rebuild their defense industries, and step up to carry the primary weight of their own conventional defense. Today, under the Digital Services Act, European regulators in Brussels are trying to police internet discourse, telling free citizens what they can and cannot say online. When confronted with this, European officials offer a historical defense. They say, you don't understand. Europe learned from the 30s that unchecked extreme speech can destroy democracy and bring fascists to power. Well, that concern comes from real history, but their diagnosis is completely wrong. Free speech didn't create the Nazis. Fascism didn't rise in Weimar Germany because people had too much freedom to talk. It rose amid economic collapse, hyperinflation, crushing public despair, street violence, and weak-willed political elites who thought they could ride the tiger of extremism. Giving government bureaucrats the power to censor political rivals is not the cure for totalitarianism, it's the mechanism of it. What's worse, EU regulators are now trying to enlist American tech companies to act as an online Gestapo to enforce these censorial rules far beyond their own borders. Just like you wouldn't ask Jesus to destroy the 10 Commandments, you cannot ask an American to destroy the Bill of Rights. Free speech is not a luxury for quiet times. It's the bedrock of a free society, and we will not sacrifice the First Amendment on the altar of European regulatory overreach. Now, we must be clear-eyed about something else happening on both sides of the Atlantic. There's a vocal fringe, a radical populist movement in America and across Europe that seems determined to tear this alliance down brick by brick. Over in Europe, you have far-right party leaders who preach a dark anti-American nationalism. They tell their citizens that American troops, the very brave men and women who guaranteed their freedom for 80 years, are an occupying force. They despise American values, they sneer at our influence, and they urge their nations to abandon both the EU and NATO. And here at home, we hear a mirror image of that rhetoric. We hear voices telling us that European people are nothing more than welfare queens, riding on the back of the American taxpayer, and that we ought to pack up, lock our doors, and leave them to the wolves. Both of these views are a dangerous delusion. To those in Europe who call American forces an occupation, have you forgotten history so quickly? An occupying army takes your liberty away. The American soldier gave you yours and still protects it. And to those at home who say we get nothing out of this arrangement, let's talk business. America doesn't lead the Transatlantic Alliance just out of soft-headed charity. We do it because an economically vibrant, secure Europe is the greatest commercial partner this nation has ever known. When Europe is stable, they buy American goods, American agricultural products, American energy, and American technology. They trade using American banking systems and the strength of the dollar. Their financial markets are tied to ours, creating millions of high-paying jobs right here in the American heartland. When we guarantee stability across the Atlantic, we aren't handing out welfare. We are building the market conditions that make America the undisputed economic powerhouse of the globe. So let's call this fringe movement what it really is, a foolish retreat masked as patriotism. True American strength doesn't hide behind a wall, hoping the rest of the world leaves us alone. True American strength leads from the front, builds prosperity with our allies, and leaves our enemies with no doubt as to who stands at the head of the table. So yes, we have real disputes with Europe, but let's ask a simple question. When brothers fight in the front yard, who smiles behind the fence? Vladimir Putin smiles. Xi Jinping smiles. The Ayatollahs in Tehran smile. Our adversaries would love nothing more than to see America pick up its marbles and go home. They dream of an isolated America standing alone, stripped of its bases, its intelligence networks, its supply chains, and its most capable allies. They want a fragmented Europe that they can intimidate and bully one nation at a time. Why in the world would we give our enemies the very strategy that they would write for us? Think back to September 11th, 2001, when the smoke rose from the Pentagon and the Twin Towers collapsed. Do you remember who answered the call? For the first and only time in history, NATO invoked Article 5. European pilots flew planes in the skies over America to help protect our cities. Soldiers from Britain, France, Denmark, Poland, and dozens of other allied nations packed up their bags and deployed to the mountains of Afghanistan. Hundreds of them came home in flag-draped coffins. They didn't go because Afghanistan was in their backyard. They went because America was attacked, and they were our allies. We must never forget that. The choice before us isn't a perfect alliance and an imperfect one. The choice is between an imperfect alliance that keeps us safe in a dangerous, chaotic world where America stands alone. Leaving NATO or dismantling the transatlantic partnership won't fix European speech laws. It won't make our economy stronger. It will simply leave America weaker, less informed, and far more vulnerable when the next crisis comes. When a house has a leaky roof, you don't burn down the house, you fix the roof. We need a transatlantic alliance that is stronger, fairer, and clear-eyed about the threats that we face. We must demand that Europe step up to defend its own back door, while America maintains the overarching strategic strength that keeps the peace. The generation that built this alliance didn't do it out of sentimentality or charity. They did it because they had seen the horrors of war and they understood a basic enduring truth. America is safer when it is free. Europe is stronger when America is engaged. And free nations standing shoulder to shoulder can preserve a peace that none of them could ever defend alone. Let's not throw away in frustration what our fathers built in wisdom. Let us renew it, reform it, and pass it on, stronger than ever, to the generations yet to come. Thank you. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.